I need you to go and get the book called The War on Small Business, How the Government Used the Pandemic to Crush the Backbone of America. And it is written by my friend, Carol Roth. It is on sale just like right now. It is out now. You need to go and purchase this book for the good reason of A, understanding what has happened to our economy, and B, because we want to have this book outperform all of the ridiculousness, the books that CNN promotes. So it's your American duty. So go out and do that. Maybe buy one less Roman candle at, the stand and go and get this book. The lovely Carol Roth, who has amazing hair, joins us now via Skype. Carol, congrats on this book and thank you for educating people about the economy.
Thanks so much, Dana, for having me and for advocating for small business. Unfortunately, this book is sort of proving its thesis that not enough people seem to care about small business. Everyone keeps saying, oh, we care, it's the backbone of the economy. And when we bring forth what happened to the backbone of the economy with the government picking winners and losers, deciding who was essential and who was, quote, non-essential, who would thrive, who would fight to survive, that nobody seems to care. And oh, by the way, all of this government mandate helped enable a transfer of wealth that was historic. We saw 7 tech companies last year gain $3.4 trillion in value and just saw this historic consolidation of wealth and power from Main Street to Wall Street. This is something everyone should care about because this is half the economy.
And it's terrifying just to see how quickly it has happened. I mean, this is stuff that you think would take generations to do, but not with everything being so digital, not with the system that we have now. You had tweeted, I'm going to pull this up. I have a bunch of stuff up on my screen here. You tweeted something that was amazing to me. You were talking about one of the emails that had been sent to you from one of the small business owners. Mm-hmm. So the Small Business Association, they were telling people, okay, you fill out this application, you're going to get some monetary help from this government mandated. I mean, it's essentially eminent domain of commerce. You're going to get some help for this. And then they were told that they were confirmed to receive it. And you have screenshots of all of this SBA decision confirmed. And then they say, oh, no, actually, we changed our mind. The SBA is not able to pay these applicants who were previously approved. How did this happen? And I really feel like they were tricked. Small business was tricked.
I mean, small business has been tricked this entire time. Like you said, even early on, if you take somebody's property for the public good, like you said, that's eminent domain. They were due just compensation. The PPP provisions of the CARES Act were crumbs compared to what everybody else got, just a fraction of the trillions of dollars that were spent on all of the cronies. And so this was a new program that the Biden administration came out with, a restaurant relief fund. We're going to help restaurants, not other small businesses, by the way, if you're like a dry cleaner or something, right. Too bad for you, but we're going to help restaurants and we're going to continue to pick winners and losers. And so what they did is they said, well, we're going to prioritize if you are a woman or a minority or someone like that. And of course, that's not constitutional. So all of these women and minority-owned businesses that were told that they were approved, then they said, well, now we can't do it because we discriminated by choosing you. So instead of gathering more funds and making sure that all the small businesses who needed these funds are taken care of, they took people, and the screenshots I showed, this woman who thought she was getting $57,000 for her small business, got a note that it was approved, literally got the amount that was going to be wired into the bank account it was going to be wired to. And she kept because they said 3 to 7 days it'll be there. And she kept checking and she kept checking. And all of a sudden they said, sorry, we're not allowed to do this. And we're talking about fractions of the money that they have given out for like every stupid thing to prop up airlines that have other access to capital, to prop up their cronies. I mean, yeah, Hamilton, exactly.
Which is insane to me. That I can't. I mean, I read that headline yesterday. Kane got so mad he almost knocked his protein bowl off the table. I'm like, that's our money. And then that's like almost $1 billion play anyway. That's what's crazy about this. We're talking to Carol Roth, her new book, The War on Small Business. I loved one of the things that you said, because you said at first when the government believed that businesses were too big to fail, and then that went from too big to fail to too small to matter. With the non-essential. I don't know if I'm still mad about this. I'm still mad. And talk to us about this, because that's really, all these people were left in financial ruin, and small businesses, that's like what, 60% of the new job creation?
Yes, and half the economy and about half of the total jobs, and it represents decentralization in the economy. So if you look at our economy, half the economy comes from about 30.2 million pre-COVID small businesses that are decentralized, that are pursuing their economic freedom. And the other half comes from about like 10 to 15,000 big businesses, which are concentrated power. And those are the cronies of the government. Which do you think is easier for them to control and to be in cahoots with? That they want to deal with 5 to 10 or 10 to 15,000 big businesses or 30.2 million small businesses. Right. So we saw this happen during the Great Recession. Banks did these things that were nefarious, that affected the entire economy and all of our livelihoods, yet they were too big to fail. They got taxpayer dollars. And now you have a scenario by no fault of the small business. This is by government mandate. They shut them down. And you can say they're too small to matter, or maybe they're just too hard to control. And I lay out this thesis in the book, and you can pick the choice of you think what the intention is, but it doesn't matter because the outcome is the same. And this is decreasing wealth opportunities for Americans. I mean, that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, ownership in this country, equity ownership, is what creates wealth. So if you own a home, if you own a business, if you own stocks in the stock market, every one of those things they have disrupted. It made it more difficult for the average American to participate in. So it is taking away our economic freedom and our wealth creation opportunities. And I'm sure I don't need to connect the dots for you, Dana, but that slides us right into socialism.
Oh, completely. And you made a good point talking to Carol Roth. You need to get this book, The War on Small Business. The stimulus and the getting paid at home. We just had a headline on our headline segment last segment where McDonald's is offering $500 bonuses, and all of these fast food places, they're talking about paying managerial salaries to some of these entry-level workers to try to lure people out of their homes to come and work, because the government, it's really hard to compete against the government when it's using your own taxpayer dollars to pay people to stay home. And you had a great point. I completely 100% agree with this. This was a soft run for universal basic income.
Yeah. It certainly is. I mean, basically what they have done is they've conditioned people to feel like the government's going to take care of them and that being on the government dole is a good thing. So whether it is the stimulus checks under both administrations, whether it is these enhanced unemployment benefits, all of these things are to say, oh, look, the government can give you money. Don't you like getting money from the government? Wouldn't you like to get more? Not knowing that it's not the government's money, by the way. It's your money. Yeah. And they take your dollar and they give you back 75 cents, which is a bad trade. But they're conditioning people for that so they can move more people under their purview and continue to consolidate power. And this is the frightening thing. This is the test run for UBI. And I guarantee you're going to hear it more and more, and people are going to point to this. Well, didn't you like getting the stimulus check? Didn't you like getting those dollars from the government?
Right.
Really scary thing.
You had made a really great point as well. And you also, folks, can follow her, Carol J.S. Roth on Twitter, her book, The War on Small Business. We talked about the situation with BlackRock, and this is a scary thing. I mean, it's one thing to look at this stuff like very, clinically, for the lack of a better way to put it. And then when you realize the effect that it's having, not just on Main Street America, but also on neighborhoods of America. BlackRock, the big asset manager. Now, I mean, this is why the housing market is as insane as it is, but it's very artificially so. Talk a little bit to folks about really the threat with this, these asset management companies like BlackRock purchasing up houses, again, competing with you, your own money, competing with you to purchase a house and driving up the cost and running people out.
Okay, I'm going to get a little wonky here, and I lay this out in better detail in the book.
Carol brings the wonk so good.
I'm a nerd, Dana. So basically, a lot of this has to do with the Fed disrupting risk in the market. So basically what they've done is they have come in and they have artificially taken interest rates down to zero. They did that for 7 years during the Great Recession. They brought it up slightly, and then they brought it right back down again at the beginning of COVID. And they've also pumped a lot of money that they, by the way, have created from nowhere, a digital entry into the market, trillions of dollars. They now have $8 trillion on their balance sheet. And again, that helps to create this crazy bubble in the market. So that is disrupted risk. And what that means, if you are an asset manager, and BlackRock has a ton of money, they're the biggest asset manager that's out there, they have to return something to their investors. They're trying to go out and find what's called yield or return on their money. And all of the places you would normally be able to get that because of the traditional risk profile has been disrupted. So they have to take on more risk or look to different arenas. So that's what's led them into this arena, because all of the normal places, they can't get the return on the investment. Oh, and by the way, now, again, they're getting basically free money from the Fed, which, again, is your money. So if you're a retiree or you're a saver, you're going to the bank and you're trying to get a return on your money, and you're getting like 0.025% if you're lucky. And the banks are lending out that money to BlackRock at like tiny interest rates so they can go use it and buy up the house that you want to compete with them for. So this is the government's interference in the free markets. In addition to all the other ways that they interfere in the free markets to restrict supply of housing, all of these things are completely tilting it and making it difficult. And as I said before, this is taking away your wealth creation opportunity. You can't have equity in a house because you can't buy the house. You can't have equity in the stock market because you have to take on extra risk. You can't have a small business and equity in building a business. They don't want you to have wealth. And you need to pay attention to this. And we all need, this is a nonpartisan issue.
That's like scarier than a Freddy Krueger movie.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I know a lot of people have been talking about this great reset that's come out of the World Economic Forum. And while I don't necessarily think it's a globalist plan, but like as I'm starting to put the dots together, it's kind of like, well, yeah, this sounds very similar to the things that they're talking about. So I don't know that there's any tie, but this taking wealth creation opportunities away from America is scary. So you need to understand what's happening. You need to understand what's happening with the Fed. You need to understand what's happening with the government. And we need to stand shoulder to shoulder to stop this.
Yeah, it creates a renter's nation. And so many people, when they first start out, that's how they start with the equity in their home, owning their property. This book is a must read, The War on Small Business, Carol Roth, and you can go to harpercollins.com. You can go, she has it linked up at Twitter. I know we were throwing, I think down in the lower third, the link as well. Carol, you're welcome on the show anytime. I love the way that you break down some of these more complicated economic issues that people can understand. You get it bite-sized to them. You do such a great job at that. And this book is a must read. I'm going to buy multiple copies because I want your book to do better than all of the other fools out there. So that's, for America. Carol, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for your support, Dana.
Of course.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Happy Independence Day.